Most people don't notice they're losing their life. It happens quietly, one small adjustment at a time.
You think you have time. You think because you can still drive yourself to the store, still carry your own bags, still remember every name at the church potluck, you have plenty of runway left. You think the hard parts of life are behind you now, that the grief, the change, the losing, the adjusting, those were things for other people. I thought that too. And I'm old enough now to tell you something I wish someone had told me before I crossed that invisible line. Not because I did something dramatic, not because my life collapsed in a single moment, but because the quiet parts, those are the ones that shape the end of your story. The quiet habits, the quiet distance, the quiet ways you stop choosing without even noticing. I'm 102 now. Most mornings I wake up before the sun, not because I'm disciplined, but because my body seems to keep its own schedule these days. The house is quiet in a way it never was when I was younger. No rushing footsteps, no slammed cabinet doors, no voices calling from another room asking where the keys are. Just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint sound of my kettle starting to boil. I keep a small notebook beside my chair. Nothing fancy, just a spiral pad with a pen clipped to the top. I write down the things I want to remember, what I ate, what day it is, what I meant to do. Sometimes I write down memories too, not because they're slipping away fast, but because I've learned something late in life. If you don't preserve the ordinary, it disappears, and most of your life is ordinary. When I was young, I didn't understand that. I thought the important moments would announce themselves. I thought they'd come with trumpets. I thought the big things, the things you'd remember, were the things you'd plan for. They're not. The things you remember at 102 are often the smallest things you didn't think mattered. The way sunlight looked on your kitchen floor, the sound of someone you loved clearing their throat before they spoke, the feel of a warm towel pulled fresh from the dryer, the way you used to walk across a room without thinking about it. I didn't grow up expecting to live this long. None of us did. I lived my life like most people do. I worked. I worried. I tried to be responsible. I tried to be good. I married. I raised children. I made meals and paid bills and folded laundry and sat through school meetings and waited in doctors' offices. I did what you do when you're building a life. You stay busy enough that you don't have to sit still with the bigger questions. And that was my first blind spot. I thought staying busy was the same thing as staying present. I didn't realize that a life can be full and still be missed.
My blind spot wasn't laziness. It was believing that staying busy meant I was still truly there.
In my 50s, I was still strong. I didn't think of myself as strong because I didn't have to. I could lift heavy grocery bags without noticing the weight. I could get down on the floor and stand back up without planning it. I could spend an entire day moving, cleaning, cooking, working, driving, and never once wonder if my body would cooperate tomorrow. I didn't see that as a season. I saw it as normal. In my 60s, I started to notice small changes, not the kind people talk about in public. Nothing dramatic, just little negotiations with life. I started choosing parking spots closer to the entrance. I started carrying fewer bags at once. I started reading menus under better lighting. And I told myself the same thing most people tell themselves. This is fine. This is just aging. Everyone does this. What I didn't understand is that the changes weren't the problem. The problem was what I did next. I adjusted quietly. I shrank my world one reasonable choice at a time. That is one of the things society doesn't say out loud about the later years. You don't lose your life all at once. You lose it in small, polite surrenders. You stop going places that feel inconvenient. You stop calling people you haven't spoken to in a while because you don't want to bother them. You stop trying new things because you don't want to look foolish. And then one day you wake up and realize you haven't chosen anything in a long time. Life has simply been happening to you.
The consequence isn't loud. It's the day you realize you've been living on autopilot for years.
In my younger years, I thought loneliness was something that happened to people who had no family. I thought if you had children, if you had neighbors, if you had a marriage, you were protected. I was wrong. Loneliness is not the absence of people. Loneliness is the absence of being known. There came a point somewhere in my 70s, I think, when I realized I was becoming a person other people managed. Not out of cruelty, not out of control, out of love. My children started checking on me more. They started reminding me of things. They started speaking slowly as if volume and speed could prevent time from doing what it does. I remember one afternoon standing in my kitchen holding the phone against my ear while I stared at a drawer full of rubber bands and old batteries. My daughter was talking, telling me about her week, and I realized I wasn't really listening. I was trying to remember where I kept my list of passwords. That sounds like a small thing, but it's not. It was the moment I understood that independence is not a single switch that turns off. It is a series of doors that close quietly. And if you don't notice the first door, you don't get to choose how the last one closes. People don't like to talk about that. They talk about retirement like it's a reward, like it's a long vacation you've earned. And for some people it is. But for many of us, retirement doesn't save you. It exposes you. Because once the structure of work is gone, you are left with yourself, your habits, your relationships, your sense of meaning. And if your whole identity was built around being useful, being needed, being reliable, then the quiet of retirement can feel like standing in a room after the music stops.
I thought retirement would feel like freedom. What it really did was reveal what I hadn't built.
I spent a long time believing that being a good person meant being responsible. I paid my bills. I kept my promises. I showed up. But in my later years, I realized something that surprised me. Responsibility is not the same thing as connection. You can be reliable and still be distant. You can provide and still be absent. You can do everything right and still miss the point. I don't say that with bitterness. I say it with the kind of calm that only comes when you've watched enough seasons turn to know you can't go back. There were conversations I meant to have, not dramatic conversations, not tearful confessions, just simple ones. The kind where you say, "I'm proud of you," without attaching a suggestion afterward. The kind where you say, "I miss you," without making it someone else's job to fix. The kind where you sit in the same room with someone you love and let the silence be gentle instead of awkward. I thought I would have time for those. And here is the strange part: I did have time. I had years, but time is not the same thing as willingness. That was my second blind spot. I assumed the important things would happen naturally. But the important things don't happen naturally. They happen intentionally. The older you get, the more you realize that your life is made of repeated days, not milestones, not anniversaries, days. And the repeated days become your legacy. I have outlived many people I loved. That is not a heroic thing. It is simply what happens when you live long enough. The world becomes a place filled with absence. Not loud absence, quiet absence. There are names I still say in my head when I fold a towel. There are faces I see when I hear certain songs. There are moments I revisit not because they were dramatic, but because they were ordinary and safe. A kitchen table, a porch step, a hand resting on the back of a chair. When people talk about the end of life, they often talk about big fears, illness, dependency, loss. But one of the deepest fears, the one people don't admit, is simpler than that. The fear of becoming invisible, not hated, not abandoned, just slowly forgotten. The world keeps moving. The younger people are busy. The phone rings less. The invitations thin out. The holidays become quieter, and you start to feel like a piece of furniture in the corner of the room, still there, still valuable, but no longer part of the conversation. You can't control all of that, but you can control something else. You can control whether you stay engaged while you still can. Not in a loud way, not in a performative way, in a small way. Writing a letter, making a call, walking outside, asking someone a question and actually listening to the answer.
If your days feel fine, ask yourself, when was the last time you chose something on purpose?
I used to think courage was something you needed for emergencies. Now I know courage is something you need for ordinary days. Courage is making the appointment you've been avoiding. Courage is saying, I miss you first. Courage is admitting you don't know what comes next. Courage is choosing presence over distraction. And if I could go back, if I could sit beside myself at 65 in the middle of a normal week with a sink full of dishes and a calendar full of obligations, I wouldn't tell her to do something dramatic. I wouldn't tell her to reinvent her life. I would tell her something smaller. I would tell her to notice. Notice your body while it still responds. Notice your relationships while they're still flexible. Notice your days while they still feel slow. Because later, much later time does something you don't expect. It speeds up. The years start to collapse into each other. Seasons blur. You stop remembering which Christmas was which. You look at old photographs and realize the people in them weren't just younger. They were alive. And then one morning you wake up and the kettle boils and the house is quiet. And you realize you are standing at the end of your life, not in a dramatic way, but in the same ordinary way you stood at the middle of it. Just present. I don't say any of this to frighten anyone. I say it because the last lesson I learned much too late is this. The good years don't end with a crash. They end with a fade. And the only way to honor them is to pay attention while they're still here. So I sit in my chair and I write in my notebook and I let the morning light move across the floor. I listen to the quiet. I hold my cup of tea with both hands. And I try still even now to be someone who notices.
Your legacy won't be the big moments. It will be the days you paid attention to.